Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Ashley Thomas. I'm the dietitian behind Cook With Me TV. A live stream cooking show run by registered dietitians where we teach you how to cook meals that are both delicious and nutritious because you can have the best of both worlds. So tonight what we're doing is we're making a big pot of barley, and if you've never had barley before, it's basically a whole grain. It's very rich in soluble fiber, which is a specific type of fiber that helps to lower cholesterol levels in the body. Fiber is good for lots of things, but that is kind of what we're highlighting tonight. Hey everyone that's on. Hi Kathleen, thanks for tuning in. Hi Janice, good to see you as always. And maybe Jennifer and Leela are on, I'm not quite sure. It looked like you were for maybe a second, but in any event, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this barley that we're cooking tonight in all of our recipes throughout the week. One of the things that I hear quite a bit from people is that I don't know what to do with whole grains. You guys are telling us to eat lots of whole grains. They're very healthy for us. We know, we've heard it before, but what exactly am I supposed to do with them? And so barley is one of my favorite whole grains. It's very affordable. It cooks up pretty quickly, and you can use it in lots of different dishes. It's got a very chewy texture and sort of a nutty flavor. So it offers a little bit more flavor than maybe rice or quinoa, some grains that you're probably a little bit more used to. Hey Shelly, hi Sandy, thanks guys for tuning in. I'm just talking a little bit about barley and why it is so good for us and the fact that we're going to use it in all of our meals throughout this week. This is also very helpful for people who are cooking on a budget, healthy cooking on a budget especially. So this barley is going to go a long way. And so let me show you real quick. This is the version that I bought. It's a pearled barley. Pearled means that it has been polished somewhat, so it's a little bit easier to cook. It cooks up a little bit faster. So this is what we're going to be using. We're going to cook 1.5 cups of this stuff tonight. And let me know if you guys have made risotto before. Has anybody ever made risotto? Typically it's made with a very short grain starchy rice called Arborio rice. And that starch gives it that creamy flavor. So I made that a few weeks ago using the regular Arborio rice. If you're interested in watching that video, I will post a link to it in the comments section when I'm done here tonight so you guys can see how you can make real risotto. We're swapping out Arborio rice for barley because it's much more nutritious, a lot more fiber, a lot more protein, a lot more B vitamins, and it's not going to spike your blood sugar as high as a starchy short grain white rice like Arborio might. And we know that regulating our blood sugar helps with a slew of things in our body. It helps us to maintain a healthy weight. It helps us to prevent diabetes. It can even reverse diabetes actually. So let's go ahead and get these started. Hi Mom, thanks for tuning in. Barley tonight. We're cooking it as risotto, and Mom, I know you love risotto, so you'll probably love this. The first thing that we want to do to get our risotto going is to chop up some garlic and onion. So again, we're making a big batch of barley tonight, or risotto tonight. We're gonna use 1.5 cups. So we're gonna use a whole onion, and we're gonna use about 5 cloves of garlic. I know that sounds like a lot, but again, we're making a lot of risotto, so we're gonna need a lot of stuff. I like to smush my cloves like this to open them all up. I think I smushed that one a little bit too hard because now it is broken open. Has anybody on here made risotto before? And did you know that you can swap out the grain like this? I'm sure the Italians are thinking, oh, what are you doing? You're destroying traditional risotto. No, we're just making it a little bit healthier, that's all. Okay, so we've got 5 garlic cloves here. For those of you that are new to the show, this is a live stream cooking show run by registered dietitians where we walk you through how to cook healthy recipes, how to balance your plate so that you never have to diet again. We're all about balance. We are all about inclusion, that all foods fit, and as you learn how to balance your plate, you don't have to feel like you can't have that donut or you can't have those French fries. Of course, you know, those things in moderation are a healthy move, but we're here to show you that if you can cook at home on a regular basis and cook healthy, balanced meals that nourish your body, you can enjoy those things while still being healthy. So we'll give these guys a nice chop here. Again, we're making a big batch of risotto, so that's why we're doing so much garlic. And garlic is so good for you. Serves as a prebiotic, which feeds all of the healthy bacteria in your gut so you can keep them around and they can do their job to keep you healthy. It's also an anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial. Lots of good stuff for garlic, and it tastes amazing. So just, you can't go wrong. Okay, and then lastly, our onion. So you want to do one small onion or half of a large onion. This is pretty big, so I'm just going to do half of this guy. And you can use any onion that you like. I prefer the yellow onion in this dish because it is a little bit sweeter of an onion and it has more mild of a flavor, and it just, I don't know, it goes with the rice dish a little bit better. And again, we will just dice this. So these onions and garlic are not only extremely nutritious for us, but they help to start building lots of flavor in this dish. And so if you cook with me quite often, you'll probably notice that I use onions and garlic quite a bit when cooking. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get a pan started with some olive oil before I finish cutting up the rest of these. So I'm gonna use this little Dutch oven. You're gonna wanna use something that, a pot that's going to be able to hold a total of 3 cups of cooked grain. So whether that's just a big, pasta pot that you might have, and we'll go ahead and turn it on to medium heat. And traditionally in risotto, you start with butter. If you want to start with butter, that is totally fine, or you can just use olive oil. And even sometimes they use a combination of butter and olive oil, getting in some hard, healthy fats along with some flavor from the butter is a nice balance in between. And to be honest, I would absolutely throw some butter in there if I had it. I just don't have any right now. So by all means, feel free to add in some butter. I would do, maybe half a tablespoon of olive oil with half a tablespoon of butter. All right, so let's just chop the rest of these guys up. And we'll get them sauteing in a pan back there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and throw all these in. No, Kiki. All right. So what we'll also do is season with a little bit of salt and pepper, of course, just to further enhance our flavors here, bring out the natural flavor of the vegetables. Just gonna do 2 small pinches. And we'll just cook these down for about a minute or 2, just until they're translucent. Maybe they have a little bit of browning going on. So if you are cooking with me, whenever you see a little bit of browning going on, then that's when you're going to want to put your barley in. And again, for those of you that are just tuning in, this is the barley that we're using. We're using a pearled barley, which typically cooks up a little bit faster. So I'm going to go ahead and get a cup ready. You could do a brown rice, but it's not terribly starchy, so I don't believe that it would give you that much of a creamy texture. And then once we pour the barley in, we'll just cook it for about a minute. Basically what you want to do and why you must do this step, according to, Italians, I guess, who created risotto, is that you want each and every grain to get coated with olive oil so that it can cook thoroughly and start to release its starch, which will then make your dish creamy. So that's why you wouldn't just pour the stock in first and then put the barley in. The act of cooking this in oil helps to initiate the release of starch. And what I'm using here is a chicken bone broth. It has a little bit more flavor than just a regular veggie stock, but if you wanted to make this vegetarian, you could absolutely use a veggie stock. The bone broth also has a little bit more nutrition in it, things like collagen and some other B vitamins, which you don't typically find in a regular stock product. All right, so let's go ahead and pour. There's one. We'll get our other half cup in here. Okay, let that hang out for a second. You don't want to burn it though, so especially if you've got your temperature, medium, high. Stir it every now and then. So you can see we have a little bit of browning going on at the bottom, which is good. That's fine. Some nice flavor happening. And you can smell it. The barley's toasting up a little bit. It smells so good. Okay, so we're going to add, the recipe says to add a total of 32 ounces of stock, which is this entire container, but we're going to add it 1 cup at a time. Again, this is kind of what helps to bring out the starch a little bit slowly. So you want to cook 1 cup at a time. Let all of the barley soak up all of your liquid before you pour all of it in. So you basically bring it up to a simmer, which you can see it's happening on the edges there. So 1 cup at a time. And I believe I recommended getting 2 of these containers just in case you needed extra stock. If you're using different amounts of grains or if you're using a different grain completely, the absorption might be a little bit different. All right, so to balance out this meal, so we've got our complex carbohydrate from the barley risotto there. To balance it out, we're also going to introduce a vegetable, lots of vegetables as always, and what we're gonna do is kale, because it's delicious, it's nutritious, and it is stupid cheap right now. These bunches are 99 cents at the grocery store, so I can't pass that up, Do you all eat a lot of kale? Do you hate kale? Do you like kale? I know your thoughts about kale, Mom. We're gonna saute this kale down. Olive oil, salt, and pepper. Keep it very, very basic. We are going to cook 1 large bunch because we're going to use leftovers on our 3rd meal this week. We're going to throw it into a stew. My bunches are smaller than normal, so I'm actually going to rinse and cook 2 bunches. So if your bunch looks like this, you might want to grab 2 of them, depending on how much you like kale. You might not like kale that much, so you might want to just stick with 1 bunch. All right, it's soaking up pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and tend to this real quick. Oh, there's still some liquid in there. Once you see that all of the liquid has been absorbed, then you'll go ahead and add a little more. And then the 3rd part of our meal, of course, is a protein, right? So we are going to do some quick cooked eggs. We're keeping it very simple with the sides tonight. So quick cooked eggs, over easy, scrambled, however you like them. We've got lots of good nutrition in eggs. We've got choline, which is good for our brain, and it's good for fetal development. So all of you pregnant ladies out there or people who are wanting to become pregnant, choline is a very important nutrient for pregnancy and the health of your baby, as well as your baby's brain development. So good stuff there. It's a high quality protein. There's nothing wrong with that. So we're gonna do eggs at the very end because they don't take very long to cook. So if you are cooking with me, go ahead and rinse all of your greens and get some of that dirt off that sometimes hides, especially in this curly kale here. If you don't like kale and you wanted something different, of course, use some other kind of vegetable. You could do broccoli, cabbage. You could do any other green, maybe mustard greens or chard. And we're gonna leave the stems on these guys tonight. I know usually we take them off, So we're gonna leave them on. And we'll just chop it up, give it a rough chop. I like to try to get all the stems on one end here so I can make sure that I've cut them all up at a pretty even size. So if you're not a fan of kale, or you maybe have only had it a couple of times and you didn't like it, I encourage you to try this simple saute with olive oil, salt, and pepper. You might need to cook it a little bit longer to get it a little bit more tender and chewable, but honestly, it's one of the most delicious greens. For those of you that do like kale out there, do you have any special ways that you like to eat it? I know some people like to do like roasted kale in the oven so that it gets very crispy, almost like crispy, what am I thinking of? Kale chips, like kale chips. I don't know. Sometimes that happens inadvertently when I'm roasting kale. Like the other night we put it on a pizza and it got a little burnt and crispy on the top, but it was crunchy and it was really good. It was like a kale chip. So I'm going to use a wok to saute the kale in. It's a little bit bigger of a pot. It's got some nice big sides that come up so it catches all the kale that tries to fall out. If you don't have a wok, it's okay. You don't need one. You might just want to cook your kale in batches so that it all fits in the same pan. All right. Again, we're going to add a little bit of olive oil here. And let's check on, this handle's getting hot. All right, yeah, so this barley, you can tell it has soaked up all of this liquid. And we've got even more browning on the bottom, which we're gonna scrape up once we pour this second round of stock in. So again, we'll do a cup. And just use your wooden spoon to kind of scrape up that brown stuff on the bottom. That's nice. It's nice, good flavor in there. So I see a few of you that are on the show right now signed up for our newsletter. I was really excited to see that. We had quite a few people sign up today alone, so I'm very excited to get that out. You can expect it this Friday along with the new set of recipes that are coming out. So if there's anything in particular that you're wondering about nutrition or you need help with, reply back to that email and let us know if you have any questions, and we're happy to kind of base our newsletter around that specific topic the next time around. You can see Kiki's in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll put our kale, we'll get this first round of kale into our saute pan and get it going. And I'm going to quickly rinse this other bunch and get it chopped up and throw it in that pan too. So does anybody have any specific nutrition questions, cooking, diet, advice? Is there anything that you're having a hard time with that you feel comfortable talking about on the show that I can help you with? All right. Let's go ahead and chop up this last bunch of kale here. And it will cook down. I know it looks like a lot right now, but it'll cook down. We're overflowing here. I'm gonna wait till some of this cooks down before I add a little bit more. This is wonderful. Greens are so good for you. I know I sound like a broken record, but try to get them in every day, however that looks for you. It could be spinach on a sandwich. It could be spinach in your eggs. It could be sauteed kale or sauteed greens. Could be greens, you know, put in your soup. Cruciferous greens like this kale and even broccoli and, no pee-pee. I know broccoli is not technically a leafy green, but the cruciferous portion of it, along with cabbage, is necessary for the first phase of detoxification that happens in our liver. So if you guys watched any of the episodes that I did earlier this year on how your body can detox by itself without the use of supplements, without the use of those crazy juices, and without the use of all the crazy diets that tell you not to eat for 7 days and only drink this, your liver actually does all of that good stuff for you. And the vitamins and minerals that are present in leafy greens, specifically the cruciferous kind, help to start that detoxification process. So you could literally detox every single day if you ate, you know, greens every single day. There's a couple of other foods that help you do it too, but greens absolutely help do it and are sometimes easier to get in on a daily basis. Okay, I'm gonna add a touch of water in here just to help steam everything and get it cooking a little bit quicker. All right, I'm gonna add the last batch of these. And the good thing about kale is that it's a very hardy green, so it doesn't get terribly tender terribly fast. So you can keep this stuff cooked in your refrigerator for a few days and it's still gonna hold its weight and it's gonna be enjoyable to eat. It's not gonna turn into mush like spinach or arugula will. All right, got a giant pan of kale here. I'm gonna add a little bit more water in here. And then we're gonna go ahead and start seasoning it with just a little bit of salt and pepper. I always say take it easy when you're salting greens like this because it looks like you have a ton of vegetables here and you might think you need a lot of salt, but actually a little bit goes a long way because like I said, this stuff will cook down into what looks like nothing and then you'll have a very, very salty green and it's even so salty that it's hard to eat. And of course, feel free to add any other kind of spices that you want. I like kale too in stir fries if you're doing sort of an Asian stir fry because you can throw some soy sauce in here and cook it in sesame oil, which gives it a completely different flavor. It's just another way to switch it up. All right, let's check on this risotto here. Ooh, yeah. It's getting bigger and bigger, so as the grains absorb the liquid in here, they plump up and increase in volume. So you'll start with 1.5 cups of dry barley and you'll end up with 3 to 3.5 cups. All right, so let's get some more stock in here. And after this 3rd cup, we'll go ahead and give a little taste test and see if we need to add more stock or not. It smells so good. I love barley so much. So again, just because this week is barley week and barley is very rich in soluble fiber, I'm going to talk a little bit more about cholesterol. I'm actually making a video here to release later this week that talks about the foods that are very rich in soluble fiber that can help you reduce your cholesterol naturally. You can, of course, take medications to help you control your cholesterol levels, but we know that for most people, if you can follow a diet that's rich in soluble fiber and other plant foods that contain things called phytostanols or phytosterols, then you can actually reduce your cholesterol naturally and you don't need medication. Now, of course, there are a small percent of people that have a genetic predisposition to having high cholesterol. It's called familial hypercholesterolemia, and typically that does run in your family. So, and we know that food doesn't always help enough to not need medication in that circumstance. So diet does absolutely help reduce it a little bit, but not significantly enough to keep you at a reduced risk of developing heart disease and experiencing heart attacks and strokes and stuff like that. But again, for most people, it's a very small percent that has that genetic predisposition. For most people, eating foods rich in soluble fiber can help you reduce your cholesterol. And so barley is absolutely one of those foods. Another food is oats, which I have every single morning. I find that when you keep it in a place that you see on a daily basis, then you're more likely to use it. So I have oatmeal every morning, but you don't have to eat it in a form of oatmeal. You can actually have these as a savory dish as well. You can cook them up in chicken stock and season them with pepper and some other herbs and eat them that way as a savory side dish for chicken or fish or other vegetables. You can also toast them up with some nuts and seeds in a little bit of coconut oil with some cinnamon and make it into a quick granola to put over your yogurt in the morning or something like that. So we are going to be putting lots of recipes that you can use to help increase your soluble fiber intake in that video as well. Some other good sources of soluble fiber are going to be beans, black beans, kidney beans, black-eyed peas, chickpeas, whatever you like. All the beans are good. So trying to eat beans, 3 times a week would be a really good goal if you're trying to reduce your cholesterol and include some more of those foods in your diet. There are some other vegetables too. Vegetables are, of course, a great source of fiber. Some of them are going to have a little bit more soluble fiber, though, than others. Broccoli is one of them. Asparagus is one of them. What else? Do I have any other dietitians on here that are familiar with the soluble fiber vegetables? I know carrots are one of them, cabbage. So there's lots of other vegetables too. And you likely enjoy them and are currently eating them. Maybe you just need to include some other of these soluble fiber sources in your diet as well. And then nuts and seeds are also a good source. So sprinkling nuts on your cereal or your oatmeal in the morning, having them as a snack during the day. Finishing your dishes with them, we could, chop up some nuts and sprinkle them over our meal tonight. So let me show you how much this has gone down. So the kale was coming over the pan here. Now it has reduced, and it's far more manageable. And so I'm gonna give this a taste just to see where we're at with it. See if it needs a little bit more salt, if it needs a little bit more cooking time. Oh, it's nice and tender. That's good. I'm gonna add just a touch more salt. Another thing that you could use instead of salt is vinegar. You can do a balsamic vinegar, apple cider vinegar. All right, and I'm gonna turn the heat off of this and check this barley. It's getting there. You can see some kale escaped into there, but that's okay. And then lastly, we're just going to quickly cook up our eggs because that barley is almost done. So we'll just set this aside. And we'll get, if you don't want to use another pan, you could always take the kale out of this one and just use that same pan. Which, you know what? Let's do that. So we don't have to, so David doesn't have to do any more dishes. All right, do we think it's gonna fit in here? I don't know. Let's see. Whoa! Kiki knows my frantic, whoa, no, that's hot. She comes running every time I say, whoa. She knows. Oh, she must have dropped something. Okay, let me, I turn the heat down a little bit on this barley. I'm gonna give it a quick taste, see if it needs any more liquid. It does need a little bit more, so I'm gonna pour the rest of this carton in, which I believe is about a cup, maybe 3/4 of a cup. Yeah, almost another cup. And we'll just let that simmer. Elizabeth, I usually juice kale or add it to soups. I make kale chips sometimes, but they don't keep very well. Yeah, I agree. The kale chips are awesome right out of the oven, but after that I find that they lose their crispiness. The oil kind of starts to seep back out, I guess, and it gets a little mushy. I agree. I am not that familiar with barley. Is it considered a whole grain? Yes, barley is considered a whole grain. So it's got, you know, all those B vitamins. It's got more protein and fiber than your typical processed grains or white grains. Yes, great question. How do you make your oats? I usually do my oats as oatmeal in the morning. So I'll cook it with about a cup of, I'm going to talk while I do this because my pan is on. I usually cook about half of a cup to 3/4, usually half of a cup of oats with about a cup of milk, a little bit of cinnamon. Sometimes I throw some vanilla in there. And then I'll top it with blueberries and, or any other kind of fruit really, and some nuts and seeds. But again, like I said, you can always do savory oats, cooked in stock, salt and pepper. Or you could do toasted oats, which I have a really good recipe that I'll share with you. Oh, Josh Beal, I hope you're still on. I hope I didn't miss you. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. Oh, Kathleen, thank you for answering my question about other veggies with soluble fiber. Black beans, lima beans, avocado, your favorite, broccoli, sweet potato, pears, Brussels sprouts, figs, turnips, kidney beans, carrots, apricots, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, oats, and barley. Woo! I did miss a few on the list, but that's a ton. That's a ton of variety that you can choose from to eat soluble fiber every day of the week. Oh no! Oh well. That can be David's. Okay. Let me check this. This is looking good. That's almost done. Yeah, about 5 cups. 5 cups of kale. So 1 cup of kale is going to be a good hearty serving of kale for your meal. And so you can imagine we're obviously going to have lots of leftovers, but again, we're going to use it in the stew that we do on Wednesday. And then there's also probably going to be a little bit left over to have at your lunch tomorrow as an easy way to include a green vegetable in your day tomorrow. We're just finishing up somewhat. So we've got our barley risotto that is almost done. We've got 2 bunches of kale that was sauteed down with some olive oil, some salt and pepper. And we're just finishing our meal off with 2 fried eggs to complete our meal. So this is what our, yeah, I'm gonna turn the heat off on this risotto because that puppy is done. So we'll do, I'm gonna do about a cup of barley for us. Again, David and I are pretty active people. If you're somebody who is trying to manage your blood sugars a little bit better, again, you know, the barley is a complex carbohydrate that is going to help you better regulate your blood sugar. But if you're someone who is reacting a little bit more to carbohydrates, then maybe scaling back on the barley portion would be better for you. So maybe something like half of a cup would be a little bit better for you. All right, and then I'm just gonna get in here with my hands. Again, we said about a cup of the barley here, which sometimes I do more, or the kale, sorry. And I'm just gonna go ahead and we'll throw David's on here. He got the broken egg. And so there you have it. Turning this heat off. Barley, eggs, and sauteed kale. A very well balanced meal. Doesn't take very long to put together. I was talking a lot tonight, which is why a lot of time went by, but it doesn't take you very long to throw this meal together. And you've got leftover kale and you have leftover barley to use for the rest of the week. Tune back in tomorrow night and Wednesday night because I'm going to be using the barley and the kale in those recipes again to show you how many different ways you can use barley. It's going to be great. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope to see you back on tomorrow night. Have a wonderful evening. And as always, please let me know if there's any nutrition questions that you have at all so I can help answer them. Please like and share this video so more people can learn about the benefits of barley and start eating more whole grains in their diet. Thanks guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.